This is the Celt Father with the secret history of the Celts. I've got a great show for you today. Yes, the secret history of the Celts, something I've been exploring and learning about over the past few months, and I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. But first, we're going to do a little bit of news, starting off with my new Celtic Halloween single, I'll call it. I listed it as an AP, but it's 3 songs, which technically makes it a single in the music industry. It's now available. It should be up on iTunes and Amazon and CD Baby. I know it's been available as a pre-order on iTunes for a couple weeks now, so you should be able to go get it. It's 3 songs, but of course, if you want to get a bonus song, just become a patron of my music. You'll get the entire album and more when you head on over to Patreon. My other single, The Long Arm, is doing rather well, and I hope you are enjoying that as well. Again, you can get that as a patron, so go check it out. The next Celt Father live show is scheduled for Sunday, October 22nd. This is going to be a Celtic Halloween special, and I'm going to do this show on YouTube, not Concert Window, but YouTube. Once again, I've been doing this Celtic Halloween special for a few years now, and I'm excited to share some more spooky and Celtic-y songs for Halloween. I hope you'll come join me. This weekend, Kilted Kings are at the Indiana Renaissance Festival. If you'd like to come watch us, I would love it, so come on out. And I'm going to send out a special thanks to our newest gunrunners, Kurt Goodyear and Jeremy Handon. And I have one little bit I want to share with you, which is a new video. It's an ad by Tullamore Dew, and I absolutely love it. It's called No Irish Need Apply, and it's a poem which touches on the blend of the whiskey, Tullamore Dew, but it's also about the blends of cultures. And it seems like this is a video for the melting pot of America, and it's beautifully done. Brought a tear to my eye. I was so in love with this video, and I highly encourage you to go check it out if you love America and you love whiskey. And I've never drank Tullamore Dew before, but I want to start now, so I'm gonna go and get a bottle of that at some point in the future. Go check out the video. There's a link in the show notes, as well as links to all of this in the show notes. Now, I sent an email to the Celtic Invasion Vacations mailing list about doing a Celtic invasion of Venice, and someone responded, "What does Italy have to do with the Celts?" It turns out a lot. This got me so excited. The Celts were a group of people who shared a common tongue, and they are believed to have originated around Austria between 800 and 450 BC. They migrated from there in every direction, fighting and conquering as they went. They were, in fact, one of the barbarian hordes that you heard about that were sacking Rome and the Roman Empire. But the Celts didn't just invade places, they also settled them. Dan Carlin's podcast, Hardcore History, has a brilliant 6-hour-long episode called The Celtic Holocaust. Just came out a couple weeks ago. It describes how Caesar decimated the Celts in Europe, and I highly recommend this podcast. And you find out about the Celts, things that you didn't put 2 and 2 together, like that the Celts were actually the Gauls. And then they went out from there. But what I really thought about was the fact that the Celts were all over Europe at one point. There's a historical record of Celtic people before the 7 Celtic nations that we know of. Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Galicia, Cornwall, the Isle of Man, and Brittany. So Celts and Venice, though, those are the 7 Celtic nations now, but Celts and Venice actually makes sense. And it all came home on this year's Celtic Invasion of Brittany. One of the things I try to do when I go on my Celtic Invasion vacations is to provide a little history and legend into the mix. I bring a tour guide in for one day and get an overview of the region as we are staying, the region that we are staying in. And this year, I brought in Visite Bretagne, and they talked about the city of Vannes, one of the cities that we visited. And I'll have a video up, probably up in November, I think, is when I'm scheduled to release that video. But the city of Vannes was originally settled by the Celts. It was originally founded by the Veneti in particular, which is one of the Celtic tribes in northwest France. And they were, in fact, one of the bigger tribes of the region. And when I say tribes, the Celts were not just one group or 7 Celtic nations. It was a whole bunch of tribes that settled all over Europe, and one of the largest ones was the Veneti, and they settled in Brittany. Now, we learned in Dan Carlin's Celtic Holocaust episode that the Veneti were actually decimated by Caesar, though not before many of them migrated north to Cornwall, Wales, and Scotland. And this was all fascinating, but what really brought my story together was when my stepdad, Tiziano, shared with us a book about the Celtic tribes that settled in Italy. And they mentioned the Veneti as a Celtic tribe that originally settled near Venice. At this point, I should share with you a few place names. Venice is located in a region called the Veneto. Is this starting to make sense? There's a river near Carnock, and also in the Veneto, it's called the Po River. Carnock is in Brittany, Veneto in Italy. It's called the Po River. Place names. And of course, Van, where the Veneti called home in Brittany, was located in marshy land with lots of small islands, just like a certain city that is now sinking in Italy called Venice. Yes, it is believed that the Veneti of the Veneto region in northeast Italy migrated to Brittany and settled a similar region. Now, for the past couple of years, Tiziano has been researching the Celtic history of the Veneto, and there's a lot to it. The Celts lived in that region for several generations before moving on or being assimilated. Sure, it's not as vast as Ireland and Scotland, but it exists, and you can find numerous festivals celebrating Celtic culture of recent times and long ago. And this is one of the reasons that my Celtic Invasion vacations, they go anywhere for me. It's not about the location. Sure, most of my subscribers want to go to Ireland or Scotland, but many just want to see the world. My trips are about experiencing magical moments with like-minded people and then going to the obvious destinations. Now, if you want to find out more about the Celtic tribes, again, go check out Dan Carlin's podcast. You can also go to Google, which has a list of Celtic tribes, and it is a long, long list. I highly recommend you check that out. If you know of any resources, I would love to hear those. You can post those in the comments as well. This is obviously just a small taste of this unknown history that I tell you, I really never thought about the Celts outside of the 7 Celtic nations. And from then on, obviously in America and Canada and Australia and all these other locations around the world. But I never thought about the Celts of Europe, that they were there. And it kind of blows my mind. It blows my expectations. And it gets me really excited. So I'm hoping to one day do a Celtic invasion of Venice and the Veneto, and hopefully we can put together some information about that. I don't know, maybe that will be for 2019. If you are interested in that idea, drop me a line for that. Meantime, the itinerary for the Celtic invasion of the Isle of Skye is now on the website. And it is a very loose itinerary since I'm waiting on a few more people before I book the housing. It looks like there will be room for 8 people unless there's some overwhelming demand, at which point I might be able to make it for 10 people. I'm not entirely sure, where there's not a lot of housing for large groups. So we'll see what I can pull off. That is your secret history. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to support my music and travels for as little as $1 per month, you can join the Gunrunners Club and become a patron of my music. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to the podcast and my mailing list at celtfather.com. I'll talk to you again here in a couple of weeks. Sláinte.